Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are going to be introducing some of our finalists from the Emerging Leaders in Canada hackathon that has been going on for the last 6 weeks. So first off, I would just like to take a moment to thank the finalists here that have been working so hard for the last 6 weeks. They've attended multiple sessions. They've been doing their OSINT work. They've been doing their training through our sponsors platform, Sempris. So thank you to our sponsor as well for that. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a background about the actual prompt that these finalists received. So our scenario is a hospital has recently gone through a ransomware attack. There's been certain signs and indicators of security events, compromise, et cetera, happening. And they also had access to the Sempris tool, which some of the finalists will be talking about what they learned from there. And within this particular, sorry, just one moment. Within this particular prompt, there's 2 particular streams. So we've got our incident response stream, which has 2 finalists, as well as the threat intelligence, which also has 2 finalists. Sorry. So right now, I'll invite the finalists up on stage to deliver their executive briefing to the board of what their research has indicated and what they found and some of their recommendations. So this is where we're going to be starting off, and we'll start off with the threat intel stream. And our first presenter is Marianne, so come on up. Thank you.
Hello? Oh, that works. Let's go? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Marianne. Thank you so much for being here. Well, today I will talk specifically about cyber attacks in healthcare, and this will focus more on macro trends to provide a better context to the attack we're facing right now. I will start with by addressing what happened here, what are the impacts, and what are the recommendations I make. So what happened here is a case of ransomware in healthcare, which means threat actors are blocking access to tools, data, patients' information, and they demand financial compensation in return for the service and the data retrieval. The main trend we see in ransomware and cyber attacks in healthcare is a significant increase against healthcare worldwide, as the average is around 1,500 weekly, which is pretty high. But why is it so high? Why does it happen? Well, because it is a huge and successful lever and method for cyber criminals. We can explore 2 categories of threat actors. The first one is nation-state or state-sponsored groups who are interested in attacking healthcare because it's a critical infrastructure to prevent the ability to function and to create fear. The second category of bad actors are cyber criminals, who are it's very common, and they are interested in the financial compensation of it, because they often succeed in getting the ransom, and if they don't, that's okay, because they have had access to patients' file, which are very valuable on the dark web market, and it can sell up to $1,000 per file, which is up to 100 times more than what credit card files sell for. They are interested in that, in healthcare specifically, because of the vulnerabilities inherent to the healthcare system, such as the lack of risk awareness in staff, for example. The impacts, well, here, obviously, there's cost to cutting healthcare access. That means cutting operational technology, care services, losing access to files, the communication between the stations, for example. This will obviously stop a hospital from delivering care, and lives are at stakes because of this attack. there will always also be financial costs to the retrieval of the data and service and the resources needed to do that. In fact, it's estimated between $25,000 to $110,000 an hour when a hospital is shut down, depending on the size. There are obviously legal repercussions like being sued for exposing personal data. All of these will negatively impact, obviously, the institution, the trust in institutions. That can even impact local to federal governments, impact funding, sadly, and the reputation of the hospital. There is also an increased risk of being hit again by another attack, which is non-negligible to consider. So what is next? Well, my recommendations in this case, first and foremost, to engage a third party specialized in cybersecurity. That means specifically a firm specialized in incident response, such as Mendiant or CrowdStrike, although there are many others. And the first thing they will tell you, it's very probable that they will tell the hospital not to pay the ransom and to retrieve from the latest backups we have. Second, I suggest to increase resources and to fund IT and cyber departments more to better prevent, detect, and remediate future attempts and attacks. Specifically, I suggest to focus on incident response teams, security contractors we may have, and business continuity to really prevent future attacks like we want little to no downtimes in the future attacks. And finally, I suggest stronger policies, more precisely when it comes to backups. So more frequent, better backups, ideally even live backups. We want better training focused on phishing, social engineering, maybe through awareness campaigns. And finally, better policies on remote web connections, the connections we have with vendor, are there vulnerabilities there? And the integrity of the applications we use on a daily basis, obviously. So finally, I'd like to mention that cyber attacks in healthcare are very lucrative and attractive to bad actors. And because of that, we need to take it very seriously, limit its effect, and prevent it from happening again, because it threatens the basic functioning of healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. That was quite insightful and really fantastic recommendations. I'd like to invite up the next finalist of the Threat Intel stream. Elena, come on up.
Hello, everyone. And I'm going to give you a brief overview of the attack and of the next steps that we're going to take. So what happened? First, the hospital has been hit with a distributed denial of service attack, which basically rendered their website unavailable. And after that, we've been hit with ransomware attack, which means that all the clinical systems, data, and machines have been locked, and almost all of the patient care at the moment is unavailable or highly restricted. The attackers also demand a ransom being paid in amount of 150 bitcoins, which is roughly 5.5 million Canadian dollars. And if we don't do that within a week, they threaten to release all the patient data. So as you can see, this poses great risks for the organization. So what do we know so far, and what have we done? Great news is that we have kept full and offline backups of all the patient data. So almost all the data can be restored. And we don't need to pay the ransom to get it back, although it will take some time. Another great news is that thanks to our participation in a federal research program, we have separated all the patient medical data from their personal data, and all the personal data is encrypted. So basically, the attackers don't have any personal sensitive data that they can leak. So that leaves us with low to no privacy risks. An incident response team has activated their response plan, and they're maintaining critical operations, and they have contained the incident, so it cannot get any worse at the moment. And we're conducting an investigation and collecting digital evidence, but to get more insight. But at the moment, we could only collect SEMPRIS analysis logs. But this tool has proven to be very useful because it helped identify some tools and techniques that attackers have used, but that was not enough to identify them. So we had to look at the broader context here. And basically, we know that the attackers announced further that they will target other hospitals in Canada in the next few days. We also know that similar events have happened earlier this year in different countries across NATO member states. And in general, over the past year, similar attacks have intensified. And we can see a pattern that objects of the critical infrastructure of NATO countries have been targeted very shortly after they announced support to Ukraine in their defense efforts. So we also know that certain Russia-linked hacker groups have announced that they will go after these countries and that they would, and they also have taken responsibility for certain attacks. So this has still to be proved or disproved, but if this is the case, then we know that the adversary in this case are hacker groups affiliated with Russia and probably state-sponsored, which means they have very vast resources. And the victims are critical infrastructure of NATO countries, and probably their goals are mostly geopolitical to cause disruption and intimidation. So what does it mean for us? What do we need to do now? So first of all, basically, of course, we have to address all the vulnerabilities that led up to this incident. I advise that we activate business continuity plan to, for example, to move patients to a different hospital, to continue critical operations. We have to notify everyone affected. And I also would advise against going back to business as usual way too fast, because second attacks happen wasn't more than we would want that to happen. And I think we have to do more than that, because we have to be a step or two steps ahead. So we have to be proactive, and I suggest that we engage more in threat hunting and threat deception, and that we are engaged in information sharing and collaboration within the industry in Canada and globally. I also suggest that we have more cybersecurity staff, because we have these great tools like Semperis, but there's not enough people to monitor them. And how do I suggest doing that? I suggest that we redirect some of the IT budget resources to create a separate cybersecurity budget. And I suggest that we shift our focus from investing in new IT systems, Internet of Things, to protecting the assets that we already have. Because I believe that we have to create a shift in our mindset as well, because cybersecurity is not an IT problem anymore. It's our common problem, it's our shared headache, and we have to deal with it together, and we have to start acting now. Thank you. These are my resources.
Thank you, Elena, for that wonderful presentation. Just another round of applause for our threat intel stream. These ladies did a fantastic job. Yeah, well done. All right, now we'll move on to the second half of the finals, which is the incident response track. And in this particular stream, we've actually got two finalists with teams of three. It just worked out that way. So a little bit about the incident response track. So a little bit of a different presentation, as well as a shift in the research and the presentation going forward. These particular teams use the Semperis tool to do some of their research and find those indicators of compromise, security breach, evidence, and they'll be discussing a little bit about their experience in using the tool itself, as well as providing their executive briefing and showcasing their findings. Thank you. So the first team, we've got a group of three here. The ACTP team represent. So we've got Alexander, we've got Day, and Gulmahek. Please give them another round of applause.
Hi, everyone. So first, we wanted to mention the environment that we had to work in to investigate the incident. It was nicely provided by Semperis. We were basically placed into a virtual hospital with a server that keeps up the IT infrastructure with workstations. And myself, I'm not a very big expert in Active Directory. However, the tool made me feel like I'm a huge expert, because it kind of puts like points like, hey, this is suspicious, this is something you should look into. Even in some cases, Active Directory or some logs might not be there because of the nature of attack, but the Cybersecurity tool can actually catch change in your environment and give you a big alert about, hey, this is actually happening. And right, so with this, we're going to hit into our presentation, and DA is going to start.
All right, let's dive right into it. Pressing the right buttons. Oops. Oh, too many times. All right, here we go. All right, thank you everyone for joining us on such a short notice. We understand these are trying times. Me and my team will be providing you a brief on what has happened, what we are doing to contain it, and further steps, what's the business impact of it, and let's dive right into it. So around this morning, around 11 a.m., we received an alert on our IT systems that there were suspicious activity. Upon further investigation, we found out that there were 2 suspicious accounts with administrative privileges that were not there before. We further investigated this incident, and we found out that there was a computer on 2nd floor that has the traces of bad activity, and we also found out a ransom note left by the attacker. We also discovered that our backup of our IT system has been copied by the attacker, and they have opportunity to gain access using those credentials. So this is what we found out so far, and I'll be taking you through what we have done to contain the situation. So far, what we have done is we have deactivated those 2 suspicious accounts that we found, and we have put an alert on them. So if they are trying to get into our systems again, we will get flagged, and we will know more about them. We've also isolated the workstation that was affected, and we have provided the user with a loaner laptop for continue their work. And we have reason to believe that because our IT system credentials were compromised, we have changed all the critical passwords and credentials, and we have decided to upgrade our password encryptions to a stronger level. With that, I'm going to pass that on to my colleague.
Hello. So I'll be talking about the eradication process, where we'll start eliminating the threat actor from our internal environment. And to proceed with it, we'll further investigate the infected machine. We'll perform certain amount of analysis to dive deep into it. And then we'll also verify if the infection has spread out to other machines into our environment. And we'll reconfigure the IT systems, as my colleague told you, that we'll be increasing the encryption processes for the password. And the other point is that we'll be invalidating the old backup. So we'll be creating machines from the scratch because our backup was copied by the malicious actors. Moving on to the recovery part, we'll re-enroll the infected machines, and we'll make sure that the IT operations or the regular operations for the users are now in place so that the normal workflow can continue from now onwards. And after that, we'll start conducting in-depth analysis for the IT systems just to make sure that we are out of the danger zone. After that, we'll perform a risk assessment, which will be in-depth reevaluation of the IT configurations, including the encryptions we have, including the configurations we have. Now, Alex will be continuing from here.
Thank you, CanHack. So the big question was any patient data stolen or not. We went through the infected machine. We also checked some other computers. We didn't find any PII traces on any of the machines, so we don't think that the data was stolen. However, according to our policy, it's required that we refer this case to a third-party investigator. In this case, CyberX is going to look into this thing. We have established a relationship with them, so we already reached out to them for this. Yep, no, this is good. We will need 2 hours of maintenance to do the overhaul of the AT system, and this is the hospital. We are understand. Then when we shut things down, people won't be able to use it. But we have to do this because as of now, they have a way back. So we need your, as a CEO, we need your approval to, or guidance when we can do this. The maintenance window will take about 2 hours, according to our estimate, but after that, we should be back to normal operation. Since one of the infected workstation needs to be rebuilt, we didn't wipe anything there, but the reception on the second floor have the computer to use, have a spare, so they're not that affected at this point. And at the last, we just think it's a good idea to meet you tomorrow to just see if there's any updates or any questions you might have. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, that was a fantastic walkthrough of what the incident was and what the next steps are. So thank you. Great job, ACTP team. And last but not least, we've got our last finalist for the incident response team. I'd like to invite Faisal, Shrutika, and Sarita up on stage to deliver their presentation.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you, firstly, for joining us today. Before we get started, I'll just give a huge shout out to the siberX team and the ELCH people for giving us this opportunity and providing us a platform called Cypress. I'll just give a brief description of what Cypress is and how we utilize that tool, and then I'll give up to my colleague to continue from there. So Cypress basically is, it provides a comprehensive Active Directory solution for threat detection, threat prevention and response and recovery. So basically, we've used the Cypress AD tool security to analyze and validate the alert through the log events. Now, I'll just give on to my colleague to continue from here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarita Gupta, and my other teammates are Faisal Hassan and Shrutika Suri. Today, we are here to discuss the status on the ransomware attack, share recommendation to mitigate the risk, and discuss the next steps to be taken. Through this slide, let's start actually what has happened. On the May 1st, at 9 a.m., a network administrator detected a notable search in website activity. While investigation, what can be the root cause behind this? On May 4th, at 7:10 a.m., the website experienced a completely shutdown. These indicators strongly suggest that a system experienced a DDoS attack. After a few hours, on the same day at 9 a.m., the entire file system became locked. The ransom note appeared on the screen stating that all files are encrypted, and they asked for the ransom amount to regain access to the files. Upon verification, we confirmed that this is not a false positive alert. Actually, incident had happened, and we promptly implemented all security measures to isolate the affected system. This process is called containment. So containment involved disconnected all the affected system from the internet, disconnected all the network connectivity. The next step is eradication. This means that completely eliminate the threat from the system. And this process is still going on. Based on our team research, we leveraged a tool called Cypress AD Security to analyze and validate the alert through log events. Through this tool, we figured out 3 critical vulnerabilities. Using these vulnerabilities, the attacker escalated the privilege from normal user account to privileged account, which allowed them to use our critical data, encrypt it, and making it inaccessible to us. Furthermore, one of the primary methods they employed to lock our system was Kerberos attack. Kerberos provide a secure method for our hospital staff to access the critical system, even when it's connected to the untrusted network like the public network. I just want to tell you here, if this authentication protocol is not configured properly, attacker can intercept the communication and steal the golden ticket, which they allowed them to impersonate the ABC hospital staff and gain unauthorized access. I will hand over to Faisal for the next slide.
Thank you. I'll continue with the business impacts, which has been messed up, but it's okay, I'll go with it. The first one that we found was the financial losses. So basically, the hospital experienced significant financial losses due to the loss of income, delayed patient care, and relocation costs, cost of possible lawsuits and fines. So it was basically a revenue loss for the hospital. The reputation, which is the breach, damaged the hospital's reputation, which may lead to severe repercussions, such as failing to meet government patient care requirements, which was loss of trust for the hospital. Operational disruptions, which occurred affecting day-to-day activities. Hospital staff is not able to provide health care or patient care. Health records could go offline. Critical machines could go offline. ICUs would be unavailable. The systems are down. So legal liabilities is the last point that I'll talk about, which is legal liabilities and potential penalties may arise for non-compliance of the regulations, which governing bodies such as HIPAA, and I'll let my colleague Shrutika do the rest.
Okay, hello, yeah. Thank you, Faisal and Sarita. I'm going to talk about the next steps. Obviously, that is very important here because you as a board would expect some answers from us. So I want to assure you we are working on it and our team is really involved. We, as an IR team, are working on the forensics part. We are also working on the playbook because, the steps are required to be followed. And to ensure that the incident is contained, we are doing our work there. We're also trying to bring up the systems because that's the primary aim, and we are doing it as per our network segregation. Also, my team is not stopping there. We are looking for additional indicators of compromise, and we are also looking for the additional vulnerabilities. Now, you as a part of board, what is required from your end, I'm going to talk about it. So the communication, as you know, communication is the key. So communication with the other teams, I would name it as PR team, legal team, our MSPs, and whatnot, the external vendors. We need to be transparent, and we have to explain them the situation right now. And obviously, as I shared, it is under control. So that being said, we are continuing with the BCP. We are putting up the systems online. And let me assure you, our next briefing is going to happen next week. And until then, if anything changes in the system, we will ensure that we keep you updated. So yeah, that's all from me now. Thank you so much.
All right, that was fantastic. Another round of applause for all the finalists here. Well done. Not only was this 6-week-long journey a lot of learnings, a lot of reflections, really pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. A lot of the finalists that made it this far, as well as the previous contestants that didn't make it past the semifinal round, a lot of them are very new to cyber or are just starting or are looking to come into cyber. So please, it takes a lot of guts to do this. So really well done to all of our participants and finalists. And going forward in the evening, if you see them, I'm pretty sure they're going to change out of their shirts, but please go and say hello, talk to them about their experiences because they definitely have a lot of learnings and reflections. And maybe you'll join us for the next round of hackathons, or maybe you have someone in your circle that may want to be part of that. Just to close things off, I do want to thank quite a lot of people because it was a monumentous effort. As I said, this was a 6-week-long process. First off, I'd like to thank the CyberX team because they've been phenomenal in providing this platform, and they've been with our organization, ELCH CanHack, throughout the whole journey, and they've been providing not only their resources and their platforms, but also their guidance. So really thank you to the CyberX team. I also want to take a moment to thank all of the advisors that ran the workshops and the career sessions and the mentoring sessions and the judges that have provided their feedback and guidance throughout this process and have been an incredible support to our finalists here. So thank you so much, all our judges that are here as well as OA. And lastly, I would actually like to give a shout out to Rachel Babbins, who's actually the organizer of this hackathon. She unfortunately couldn't make it, but she has a good reason. She's about to welcome a new bundle of joy. So shout out to her. It is her hackathon that she's been organizing. If you have any questions, if you're interested in finding out more about this hackathon, find me. I'm here. You can add me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat. Thank you again for joining, and thank you all for the support. I just want to open the floor if there's any burning questions for our finalists or anything before we just close off. No comments? No. Oh, okay.
I like the recommendations from the threat intelligence participants. Increase the budget for new hires.
Yes, we need it, for sure, for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
When do we find out who wins?
Oh, sorry. Great point. So the finalists for both the threat intel as well as the incident response tracks will be announced tonight. The judges and I will be deliberating shortly after this session, and the announcements will be during the award section of the gala night. So please join us in that. Thank you. Thank you for the call out.